मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा परोक्ष रूप में संसूचित या राष्ट्र का पूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन
An end of a national one-party dominance, a surge of regional aspirations and ambitions, a turn in Indian electoral politics with strong, charismatic leaders no longer holding sway. The period from 1989 till perhaps almost present day is the era of coalition governments. This is the turn of the deal makers and the negotiators. While some turned out to be just footnotes in Indian politics, others left their indelible imprint.
After 1947, Congress was the biggest party, largest party, and it was one party dominant multi-party system in our country. So it was a Congress-led multi-party system, but all the other political parties were weak. So the largest democracy, Indian largest democracy, it was determined by Congress. But after some time, especially after the death of Nehru in 1964, there was a phase, we call it end of innocence in Congress, and gradually the other regional parties developed. And why developed? Because the erosion of Congress started.
The year was 1989. The 9th general elections were held in India in the month of November for 545 constituencies. Voters, disillusioned with the promises of Mr. Clean Rajiv Gandhi, gave him a thumbs down.
Rajiv Gandhi had many redeeming features, and he certainly had a younger vision for India. But I think he was also inexperienced. He had to choose his advisors more carefully, and a series of controversies erupted, most famously, for whatever it's worth, the Bofors scam. And I think VP Singh capitalized on it. And by the end of Rajiv Gandhi's tenure, I think the forces that were building up in opposition to Rajiv Gandhi sort of got together and formed a government.
The Janata Dal, an umbrella of the Lok Dal, Jan Morcha and a few others, with Vishwanath Pratap Singh as the president, challenged Rajiv Gandhi and secured 143 seats, cobbling support from the left as well as the Bharatiya Janata Party.
मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा परोक्ष रूप में संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा. Congratulations.
Vishwanath Pratap Singh became India's Prime Minister, leading the National Front government.
VP Singh knew that he is a centrist force. He cannot form the government without the support of the regional parties, and that's why he went to Calcutta to get support of the leftists. He attended one SFI rally in Calcutta at Netaji Indoor Stadium, and he took support of Vajpayee Advani also simultaneously. So that was the government, one side left, one side right. It's a very interesting phenomenon. BJP and left, they supported VP Singh government from outside, and VP Singh ruled the country for some time.
It was indeed ironic that for a leader who was close to the Gandhis, he would one day become their biggest political opponent. A loyal minister in the Indira Gandhi cabinet, he also had Sanjay Gandhi's ear. The Janata Dal was formed with the sole aim of being an anti-Congress alternative.
He was a clever politician, a very clever politician. But I don't think he had any great moral stature. He was a good finance minister, but again he wanted to upstage Rajiv Gandhi. And then, he put various industrialists into prison, etc. And he challenged Rajiv Gandhi in many ways. But he didn't have enough time. But I think he's one of those people He's a footnote in the history of Indian democracy.
Singh's most significant step during his limited tenure was the implementation of the Mandal Commission report. The Mandal Commission was set up in 1979 by Morarji Desai to identify the socially backward classes deserving of reservations. Chaired by B.P. Mandal, the Mandal report was given life by V.P. Singh on the 7th of August 1990.
That was his commitment in his manifesto. So, while it may have come as a shock to people, because people normally believe that manifestos are not to be followed. But as far as V.P. Singh was concerned, I must give him due credit that he had decided on this much before and he had put that on top of his agenda. So the way it was handled was wrong, but what he had done was part of his program.
So earlier we had the upper castes and we had the lower castes and we had some others, but we never had these intermediate castes. The middle of Indian democracy or the Indian population was casteless before Mandal came. And what Mandal did was that these other backward castes, many of them were quite well off and quite affluent. That is why you had the discussion about the creamy layer, that the top of the Mandal Commission, the top 8 or 10 castes who were given these concessions in government jobs, etc., were extremely well off castes. Then the
commitment, and even where required by individual constituency sacrifice. If that is the basis, coalitions will run. If they are an immediate and opportunist collection of disparate parties, not bound by a program of action or a common minimum program to which they must pledge allegiance publicly, then it's bound to be a transient occurrence, because any party can pull out when their political short-term purpose is served.
The National Front government, led by V.P. Singh, lasted all of 11 months. For the second time in independent India's history, a non-Congress government was felled at the centre.
He was a well-meaning man. He had good ideas, but somehow I thought he was an incomplete man, because he had good ideas which he couldn't really implement. And he made too many mistakes politically to be successful. And it was not even clear that he wanted to be successful.